All right, influencers. I've probably told this story a million times, but I like it so much. One of my first influencers was my grandfather. They're over from Kiev, my grandmother, grandfather, mom, my aunt, and he used to take me for walks in the park in Montreal. And one time I asked him, I was 5 or 6 max. I said, call him Zeta. How do you know all these people that you talk to? And he said, well, one day I smiled at this person, and he smiled back at me. He came over and smiled back at me, and we started talking. And then another person saw us smiling, and he came over and smiled at us also. And I'm thinking, as a 5-year-old, wow, it's easy. You just smile. It's definitely from my grandfather. I talk so much, but it still hit me in probably a way I didn't really totally get at 5. And then I got it more and more. That pretty brilliant, Kind of like you said before, looking at your phone and not talking. Well, what happens if you just looked over there and smiled? What would happen? And not even said a word? Things happen, right? So
Exactly.
can you share with us 2 or 3 people? I know there's probably lots that have been influencers in your life.
I would say it's probably the quiet influencers. So I looked at my best friend, who's like a sister to me, and she's a pioneer in so many ways that she's unaware of.
Wow.
So she's at this intersectionality, like truly the intersectionality to become this champion for mental wellness, on gender, on so many various different aspects. And she has no idea the influence she's had on so many people. She has been asked on different TV interviews, and radio interviews, because she's quite concise and can communicate her ideas clearly, but thinks of herself as just just a person in the in the behind scenes. But her impact on so many people, and especially me, is just pervasive. To be this early pioneer, making making a mark, and totally making it easier for those behind her. And we'll continue to see that happening forward in the future without anybody really ever quite realizing how. That's pretty cool.
That is super cool. How,
Yeah.
how, how great are you saying that? And how great is she? So she's got
Oh,
a lot of humility.
oh, oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And to have somebody extremely empathetic and humble, but is able to inspire others, and she in turn is just so unaware of that impact. It's a
So
lovely paradox.
I guess we'll leave her name out of it. No, that's fantastic. Any one or two other people?
The other thing that struck me is yesterday I had a conversation with my great great aunt. So great great, right?
Mhm.
And I had that with my son, so it was a great 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 aunt. And what was interesting as she was recounting some of her childhood along like many decades ago was her incredible positive outlook on life, and in particular her as she rewrote her childhood. Um, Being in a internment camp, so forcibly sent to occupy a camp, relocated, incarcerated, against one's choice. And what struck me in that, she's like, no, I had a great childhood. It was lovely. We didn't have, it wasn't about um, wants. We didn't have wants, but it was needs. And we had our needs. We had each other. We had, shelter and food, and it was lovely. And just the way she emphasized and reframed her entire childhood is like, it's good. We had everything we needed. We had our needs met, and I had a brilliant childhood. That really struck me, especially within today's world where we're constantly trying to think, oh, what could I have next? And look what they have and what I don't have. And it's like, no, 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 forget all of that. Okay, step back. Oh, these are my needs. How am I meeting that? And regardless of how you're meeting it, I'm going to be okay with how I'm meeting that because it's all my outlook. So that has a lasting thought that's going through my head.
No, it's beautiful. It reminds me of the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Um, if you've read it, it's spectacular about you can find meaning in anything. And he was a Holocaust survivor. He was this and that, and it's spectacular. And it's kind of like what you're talking about with her. So give that great aunt a big hug
I will.
for that. That would be great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome.
Happy to.